Stugotz here. You may not be able to run, throw, or catch like a professional athlete, but now that it's spring, you can get your lawn looking like a professional sports field, assuming your lawn gear will start. That's it. Stop by Advanced Auto Parts. They'll test your lawn and garden battery for free. If it needs to be replaced, they have Autocraft lawn and garden batteries starting at just $22.99. Plus, enter the code DAN20 when you buy online to save 20%. Think ahead. Think Advance at Advanced Auto Parts. The Dan Le Batard with Stugotz Show podcast is presented by Capital One. This is Banking Reimagined.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
That escalated quickly. Welcome to a post-apocalyptic sports world, day one. Can I do the show without you telling the people in the other room, hey, the Dead sing this song? Like, can I just do the show? We're here doing a national show.
Yeah.
You feel the need to tell them that you know that the Grateful Dead do this song.
I like this song. I
know, but can we do the show? Like, we just started. People are tuning in for our information. You feel the need to tell the studio, hey, guys, this is the Grateful Dead. Like, can we do the show?
I go all day.
So we've got plenty going on to talk about because the NBA reacted very quickly last night, and Rudy Gobert, the Rudy Gobert story is fairly amazing in that while talking about the coronavirus, he playfully, ignorantly decided to make a point as he was leaving the room of touching all the microphones, all the recorders, showing everyone that he wasn't scared, all of the media's devices. And as he leaves the room, what happens next is the game's about to tip off. It can't tip off. Rudy's got coronavirus, and the game is canceled, and then the league is shut down.
He touched the microphones 2 days prior.
Yeah. Right.
And then there was the weird situation where the game was about to tip off. Chris Paul is seen mouthing, what happened to Rudy? Where's Rudy? A trainer runs onto the court, and then everyone gets off the court, and fans are informed the game has been postponed or canceled.
Yeah. And so what you end up having last night is the sheer chaos, and Timothy Burke pointed this out, of this is all happening at the same time. You've got the President of the United States talking about a pandemic and a foreign virus, opposite Sarah Palin dancing as the bear to baby.
Oh, I mean, seriously, you're going to give that away? I had no idea. That's, dude.
Again. Spoiler alert.
Why would you do that?
Baby got back.
Why would you do that?
And the song.
I'm genuinely upset at you right now.
I didn't think we were doing a Masked Singer update. We didn't do it last week. We're not on television today. The whole joke of the Masked Singer is a televised bit.
Theater of the mind.
Yeah.
The music dome doesn't have to exist.
Are we doing the music dome today?
Not anymore.
We're planning on it.
What's the point?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why didn't we do it last week?
Thank you. Go on with what Timothy Burke said.
Yeah, what did Tim have to say?
Why did we not do it last week? Why did we not do the Masked Singer last week?
Well, last week the issue was we were by the, I think, 5th string in D.C., so we didn't want to make things too complicated because Lorenzo was out with the flu, and then his replacement had some sort of surgery, and then the replacement traveled, and then the replacement was out with some sort of issue on vacation or something. And then the Thursday, 2 people switched it was just there was a lot going on, and I said, you know what? Maybe we'll pump the brakes, take 1 week off. But I have last week's update, which you haven't ruined yet. We can do last week's update today if you'd like.
You have got, Billy, you have to understand, he's a fear-based creature. He's afraid of everything. And now is a legitimate time where a whole lot of people are afraid as the United States seems to be headed toward quarantine. That feels like where everything is headed here. And
speculative.
Billy, I know, but
it does feel like that, Mike. It does.
Okay, you can feel that way. Just speculation. Unless you have something
you've already
to
got, Mike, you already have, like, the Nebraska basketball team quarantined in the locker room last night when Fred Hoiberg got sick on the sidelines. Like, this is like watching This is like watching zombies.
Yeah, he was cleared by doctors before the game. Turns out afterwards he has the flu.
Mm-hmm.
Understood, but he was seen as sick on the sidelines.
Look, I understand what you're doing. Please understand what I'm doing today. I feel like I'm going to be picking up a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing today. Like
plugging gaps, being responsible.
All I can tell that you're doing is answering Stugotz's comments about the Grateful Dead.
I go all day.
I don't think those are the lyrics.
All Dan said was it feels like we're headed towards a place where we're going to be quarantined, and I happen to agree with him. He feels like that, and I feel the same exact way. He's not reporting. He's not saying anything.
Brian Windhorst is saying, ESPN's Brian Windhorst is saying that players from teams the Jazz has played within the last 10 days are being told to self-quarantine. The Raptors, the Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavs, anyone who's been near Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, that's in line with what's happening over in Europe. Real Madrid's soccer team is quarantined now because a player from the basketball team, Real Madrid's basketball team, which shares facilities with the soccer team, tested positive for it. A player for Juventus, a big soccer team over in Italy, also tested positive for COVID-19.
So Jabbar Young is going to join us at 11 o'clock Eastern to talk about some of the business ramifications of all of this, because C.J. McCollum is saying if we don't play, we don't get paid. Hope everyone saved their money. I don't know how any of this works. I know a lot of people are arguing on behalf of what Mark Cuban said, that they were going to put together a package for their hourly arena workers in order to keep the people who need this business to stay afloat getting their little bit of money.
On Get Up this morning, he said that for the time being, they're at least guaranteeing the next 4 games' pay for hourly workers.
And he doesn't know, Mark Cuban doesn't know what's going to happen. He's speculating that basketball will play 7 or 8 sort of rhythm warm-up games before the playoffs whenever they can get back to playing. But all of this stuff is being discussed. Basketball's a leader on it. The NHL hasn't made any decisions yet, but this is basketball being the leader, because I would watch one of those 24/7 specials that you do where you infiltrate the life of these boxers on just the decision-making last night. I would have loved to have seen who Adam Silver was talking to, what those conversations sounded like. Woj is reporting that the Knicks were the only one out there arguing we shouldn't do anything until the government forces us to do it. We should just keep gouging our customers and feeding them losing for as long as we can. We've already been a diseased franchise for 2 decades. What difference does it make if we're a little more diseased? The Knicks are the only ones who are out there arguing, according to Woj, on behalf of let's just do business as usual until everyone dies in the arena.
Speculative.
Does that surprise you, though, that the Knicks would want that?
It was funny, and Woj knew it was funny because he made the punchline of his joke, New York Knicks. His tweet, the last thing, said only one team was doing this stupidity. This is not Woj's words, they're my words. And then he said New York Knicks, and there should have been a rim shot with it because, of course, it was the New York Knicks. So Billy, though, who's a fear-based creature, looks up from his computer, and he's just soaked in terror. And he says to no one really in particular, I walked into 2 CVS's today and just wandered around. I wasn't looking for anything. I didn't buy anything. It just seemed like a place to go when the zombie apocalypse is upon you. What were you doing? Why did you go to CVS with no intention other than walking around CVS? Are you just stunned into a post-apocalyptic sports haze?
It felt like the right thing to do, and the first time I was like, well, I don't have anything that I need to get, so I probably shouldn't just be getting things. That's irresponsible. If other people need these things, I shouldn't be getting them. So I left.
You went past the sanitizer aisle, right?
Oh, they don't. That doesn't exist anymore.
I know.
At my place it does.
That aisle doesn't exist anymore. Right. And then, like, later on, so we do the local hour, and then I'm like, you know what? I feel like I need to get something. And I went back, and then the same thing happened. I was like, I don't need anything. I think I'm good.
So you're just walking around in a stunned haze.
Well, I don't know how to solve the issues that I don't really have. Which is Dan.
Wait a minute. Don't say Dan. You said I'm convinced. Just 10 minutes ago, you said I'm convinced Tony has it, and he's already given it to us.
We hold you to a higher standard.
Exactly.
And that was an off-air conversation.
Responsible journalist.
Don Lebatard.
I actually thought you looked kind of good.
Stugotz.
Thank you. The beard's grown out a little bit. I got a little life in my face, I feel like. Little tan, Colorado, San Francisco. I had a great time.
You get life on your face.
You've got death on your face.
I think you got 40 to life on your face.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code ESPN25 at checkout to get 10% off your next order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat. Oh, Grateful Dead tune here.
The NBA is known as our most progressive league. What you saw last night was leadership. It escalated very quickly. It went from canceling one game to playing games with nobody in the seats to the whole season is canceled. The decision got made quickly after days of preparation.
Suspended.
Suspended. And with the idea that Mark Cuban is saying there might be games until August, right?
Yeah.
So, the suspension of the season, the way that happened, the speed of it is something that I would really like to see and hear, like if there were one of these behind the scenes or mic'd up for how that decision got made, because you see how the rest of sports is still struggling with it. Look at, if you want to pay attention to where leadership resides and where greed resides, look at how the commissioners and the schools and the television people are handling March Madness, where they're like, well, wait a minute. Do we cancel this? We don't know yet. Let's get the players who don't make any money and let's subject them to disease as the millionaires and the pros are already taken out. Let's possibly play games with no fans, but still televise the games and still have the games so that we can make money off the games. And the NCAA is still out here having not made a decision. And this is how basketball leads. This is how professional basketball leads.
In defense of the other sports, I mean, it directly affected the NBA last night, where you have a guy running out to midcourt right before a game to say someone's been...
You had the Nebraska locker room quarantine because Fred Hoiberg was sick on the sidelines, and even though it was just the flu, they didn't know that at the time, that it was just the flu. You don't need to defend greed. You don't.
Well, I'm not defending the greed. I'm just saying the NBA has the luxury of playing some games over the summer. March Madness is kind of a staple. They're trying to get it all in. It's important to a lot of these college kids to play in that tournament.
No, don't tell me that the kids want to play.
I'm just saying that it's not as easy as you're making it seem.
Well, the NBA sure made it look pretty
because
easy
it affected one of their players.
They also tested him like well before they canceled that game. Like they got the results and then they canceled it, but that's not a 5-minute test. So like they were all set to play the game without knowing the results of the test. And they played games where you can connect almost all the teams to each other. So, like, they didn't really have a choice. If one player has it and you connect all the teams because of how the players and the teams play against each other, it could have spread already throughout the league.
And I'm usually here to jump all over the NCAA. They were the first ones to veer out there saying, hey, empty arena, which is a pretty big move for them anyways. The NBA has like a player directly affected by it, and I'm sure within 24 hours we might see a total change in NCAA policy.
Oh, I believe
so
we
I'll
will.
afford them the opportunity to figure it out because it's unprecedented.
I believe we will. I believe the NCAA is going to have to cave on this, but you can't tell me it's not a bad look that the NBA, with more dollars at stake, more dollars involved, that the NBA is more interested in taking care of its players immediately. Yes, someone tested positive. Than the NCAA as it sits here continuing to wonder whether or not to play the games. I'm just telling you, Mike, somebody acted swiftly last night. It wasn't the NHL and it wasn't the NCAA.
But I think you had to if you're that league, the NBA, because you have to go back, okay, who did Rudy just play against? What teams did he play against? He's been on an airplane with his own team. That team can no longer play. They have to get tested. They have to be quarantined. The Jazz are taking 2 separate planes back from Oklahoma City. I mean, I think it's a bit easier to make that decision that quickly when it affects one of your players right before a game.
But you do have the example of Fred Hoiberg looking physically ill to the point that it makes everybody uncomfortable watching on television.
He's physically ill because Nebraska's 7-24 and they were playing 2 football players in the game last night.
But he did get cleared by a trainer beforehand, and it turns out that he is the flu, which you probably, if you get cleared beforehand, you shouldn't really get cleared because you have the flu. I don't know what sort of testing he had, but it's easy for the NBA, for us to say the NBA acted swiftly when countless other arenas were full of people as this decision went down, when a player tested positive. They were about to start that game. So I don't know how much credit we should be giving them for acting swiftly in the face of a player having a positive result. They certainly did, though.
I would argue that in real time, the decision, after all the planning that had been done, all the conversations that had been had about do we play in NBA cities where there haven't been any confirmed coronavirus tests, after all the talks, after the idea of LeBron, someone talked to LeBron and LeBron had to walk back, I'm not playing in front of no fans, and he had to get out there and say the plan that was happening behind closed doors was a plan to protect some of the television money and have games that didn't have fans. He changed his tune, and despite everything that was being planned there, the moment a positive test appeared, not all the games got canceled of the evening. People were still playing last night, but immediately the season was suspended on the spot. That's the decision I'm interested in seeing how it is that happened, because it requires leadership at a time that no one knows how to lead. Like this is, right. There are no handbooks for this stuff.
Well, I think what they did was, and I think all leagues should probably follow their path, is because we have no idea what's going on. None of us do. We have no idea what to do in our daily lives. Moment to moment, is the NBA just hit the pause button. Like, hey, we have no idea how to handle this. This buys us some time to figure out how to handle this, and perhaps we should follow their lead on that. I do agree with you on that. Hit the pause button here because we have no idea what we're dealing with.
It does seem like we were headed for, at the very least, an announcement today regarding the NBA season, whether or not to play it in an empty arena. I do think that they acted swiftly in the face of a positive result last night, but I don't know what the plan might have been. It might have mirrored that of the NCAA, which is just play in empty arenas. So again, I'll afford the NCAA the opportunity 24 hours to figure this out in the face of like unprecedented situations.
Well, let me ask you this question. If what I'm doing feels too critical of the NCAA, do you need a player to test positive to then say, never mind about the games? If a player tests positive on any team that's in the tournament, you're telling me that the NCAA will then immediately cancel all its games?
All of this seems pretty reactionary. It seems like you're giving the NBA credit when they did exactly that.
They did do that, and I am giving them credit for it because I don't believe that many people would do it exactly like that. Release the information, get it all out there, can't suffer the shame, have the fans restless and booing last night because the game was canceled.
Well, what the medical experts are saying is that it goes without saying that someone playing in that tournament would test positive for the coronavirus at this point.
Oh, I imagine we're headed to an announcement today. They went out there first with, is this right? And they didn't have any positive test results, and then Rudy Gobert happens, and the landscape totally changes overnight.
Let me ask you this question, because we're not on television today. There's no highly questionable today. It was never going to be on today because I think the Atlantic 10 tournament was supposed to be going on.
Yeah.
Is it still going on?
Residual effects from, I think the conference tournaments are still going on. Some even had fans as last night. Like they announced, it's funny, the NCAA announces, hey, the NCAA tournament men's and women's aren't going to have fans. And then you tune in to Greensboro and there's a packed house for the ACC tourney. We were previously scheduled to be off because of these tournaments and the residual effects throughout ESPN programming.
But are the tournaments, as of now, all of these tournaments are still going to be played today?
Yeah, certain conferences have announced that they weren't playing, and that news was out there. I don't know if they plan on stopping conference tournaments midway in the light of a post-Rudy Gobert world.
Don Le Batard.
If I'm at the house with them and they're all rooting, I could just be like, yeah, rah, rah, rah. Go Yankees.
Stugotz.
Do you know how unsettling it would be if I attended a live sporting event and someone behind me was just going, rah, 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 Browns, rah, Heat, rah, rah, rah.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Pennzoil synthetic motor oils are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil, based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W-30. That's the weight. Here's your Sports Center update. Leicester City manager Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers confirms they have a few players that have shown symptoms and signs of the coronavirus. We follow procedures, and as a precaution, they have been kept away from the squad. ACC Commissioner John Swofford has announced that the remainder of the ACC tournament at the Greensboro Coliseum will not be played in front of fans. And finally, wow, starting next month, Chick-fil-A will be selling bottles of its signature sauces at grocery stores. Whew. Chick-fil-A sauce is amazing. Take advantage of Casper's end-of-season clearance sale with savings up to 20%. Get the mattress of your dreams right now at Casper.com, now through March 23rd. Terms and conditions apply. See Casper.com/terms. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
This is from the author, Liam Hackett. He writes, the World Health Organization, WHO, has announced that dogs cannot contract coronavirus.
Yeah, that was a bit of misinformation on the internet.
Dogs previously held in quarantine can now be released. To be clear, who let the dogs out?
Oh, jeez. Oh, no. No.
No.
Did you just read a meme, too? Can dogs actually get this? I don't even know anymore now that you just said that bad joke.
I read the
What did
joke
you get that from?
I already told you, Liam Hackett, the author.
Again?
The World Health Organization has announced dogs cannot contract the coronavirus. Dogs previously held in quarantine can now be released. To be clear, who let the dogs out? I believe that that's a good joke.
What a Hackett.
Woof.
Did you do another dog joke?
The wolf reaction to him was good.
This was clever.
What a Hackett. Me reacting with woof is funny. So let me ask you guys this question, okay? Because I think this perception is reality, but I'm curious if you believe it to be perception or reality, or neither. In football, Roger Goodell is viewed as someone who's a bit of a piñata for the owners, that he is someone who exists to make a lot of money and take the heat on unpopular things to get blamed for that the owners actually want. I don't feel like Adam Silver has that reputation. I feel, and I don't know what's fair or what's right here, but I feel like Adam Silver, because of how David Stern ran the office, because David Stern was willing to punish owners, because Adam Silver's first signature act was to take away an owner's team over racism, I feel like Adam Silver has the perception, the reality. Am I right about this? On both. Do you feel like Adam Silver is a little more in charge of his owners, doing unpopular things possibly, money-costing things possibly, still beholden to his owners, works for the owners, but seems to be more in charge of his owners than Roger Goodell does? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Goodell to me seems more like a yes man. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't see Goodell as a yes man. I just see those owners so bloated on power and that they wouldn't allow someone in that position to push them around because of the size of their wealth and the ego. And those things exist also in basketball, but so many of those owners have been grandfathered in from a previous dictator-type commissioner like David Stern, who actually did best for the league stuff and often punished owners and kept punishing Mark Cuban again and again and fining him again and again for a variety of different things. And Adam Silver learned at David Stern's knee, and I feel like he's grandfathered in some of that power. And the job is to build consensus among the owners. The job is to get the majority of owners into a place, because you're not going to get consensus, because the Knicks are always going to want to continue playing basketball games until the government tells them to shut it down. You want the greatest consensus to believe that you're the guy in charge and that you're going to be the one who does the greater good stuff, because yesterday hurt the NBA. Like, that is a stomach punch. You've already got Mickey Arison losing all sorts of money as the owner of the Heat because his Carnival Cruise Lines, the cruise industry, is taking a bath right now. And now to come to Mickey Arison and say, hey, look, we're thinking about taking your gate and having you play games with no fans in the stands. And then, oh, never mind about that. We got to shut it all down. We got to cost everybody money, because in the cruise industry, now Mickey Arison has to keep paying those employees. And now you got to make decisions about what you're going to do with all your Heat employees. If there are no games, what do you do with your employees? Like, what the people listening to my voice right now, wherever it is that you work, if your job shuts down today, do you expect to be paid? Because you're ready to go to work. You want to go to work. Like, I don't know. Honestly, Stugotz, I honestly don't know going forward here. How is ESPN going to run as a network with no sports?
I have no idea. But in terms of the team employees and arena employees, I think all you can hope for is that your owner will do the right thing. That's it. Like, Mark Cuban's doing the right thing, and that's all you can hope for. I don't think you expect it. You just hope, hey, that guy's got a lot of money. I don't. Do the right thing by me. That's all you can hope for.
I mean, it's a good thing to hope for. I'm not sure every owner would be predisposed to do that.
I mean, in terms of coverage, this week and this weekend's pretty easy. Next week, though, I got an idea of how you can cover it. Here's a story of a man named Brady who's a fan of playing with deflated balls. He may be just as old as your grandfather, but his forehead's smooth. Here's a story of a ham named Stugotz who just makes his sports takes up as he goes. No consistency or repercussions to the lament of death. Till the one day when the show was starved for content and they knew they were under a ratings crunch. That's how most our bits come to fruition. That's the way we all began the Brady Hunch. The Brady Hunch. The Brady Hunch. That's the way we began the Brady Hunch.
This week's episode of the Brady Hunch, or today's episode, I should say, and in fact, we have to do a second episode. We skipped one.
Oh, great.
But you guys heard the news, okay? Tom Brady and the Avengers producers are making Tom a production studio.
Wow.
Building up studios, got a movie company. It's called 199 Productions. 199, the number he was drafted back in 2000 in the NFL draft. 199. Boy. Every team passed on him 5 times except the Patriots, who finally got him in the 6th round.
Wow.
Plus, you see a lot of bobbing and weaving going on. A lot of bobbing and weaving. So what do I think when I see 199 Productions and some bobbing and weaving? I think Patriots drafted him. Bob Kraft. Tom Brady returning to the New England Patriots.
Wow.
How about that? Stugotz here. People do amazing things every day, so it makes no sense that they shouldn't feel confident about doing their taxes. TurboTax believes that with the right tools and encouragement, people can do anything, even taxes. And with TurboTax Live, you even have access to CPAs and EAs on demand who are available to answer your questions or to give advice on how to file, even on nights and weekends. So you can do your taxes with ease and confidence and never feel stuck or alone during the tax process. You can also rest assured that you'll get your best possible outcome, which means you can file your taxes quickly and easily and get back to all those amazing things people do every day. TurboTax. All people are tax people.
Don Le Batard.
That bear was not on Hal's deck. Excuse me. I was going to say desk. I meant deck. I botched it. Terrible. $2. Penalty box, 2 minutes. See ya. Home for the day. Walk to the ocean. What do you want me to do? Super Bowl week, Dan. I didn't ask for any of this. And I have no money. Aqua?
Stugotz.
Walk to the ocean.
What?
Walk to the ocean.
I really have no money.
Get out of here. Get out of here. I'll do the show without you.
I don't like.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
If you missed any of our interviews, check them out on demand in the Dan Le Batard podcast, brought to you by Capital One. Why settle for average? With Capital One, you can open a savings account with a rate 5 times the national average. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Capital One N.A., member FDIC. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
So this is how yesterday went from noon to 10 p.m. What do you have, Mike?
We have breaking news from Woj. Donovan Mitchell has tested positive for COVID-19.
The Utah Jazz last night canceled their game, and this is how this escalated yesterday from noon to 10 p.m. I mean, it's a chronology of events here. Rutgers closes athletic events to fans. CBI tournament canceled. Wall Street Journal says Major League Baseball is exploring alternate sites for games. Columbus Blue Jackets close home games to fans. Tulsa football players quarantine. Golden State Warriors close home games to fans. Seattle LA XFL game to be played without fans. Ohio governor confirms NCAA games in Ohio will be without fans. U.S. State Department bans non-essential travel. Ivy League cancels all spring sporting events. Penn State closes athletic events to fans. Washington closes athletic events to fans. NCAA advises against holding sports events with fans. NCAA says NCAA tourney will be played without fans. Italy shuts down commercial activity. Michigan cancels spring game sports events without fans. Maryland closes athletic events to fans. San Jose Sharks close home games. Big Ten closes MBB tournament and all spring sports to fans. Big 12 limits those tournaments. Oregon, TCU close athletic events. Boston College closes. ACC closes MBB tournament to fans. Ohio State head coach Ryan Day announces no recruiting. Then we get to 8 p.m. Because this is what was happening yesterday. Department by department, compartment by compartment, sports started closing down all over the place. And I genuinely wonder what ESPN is going to do for the next month if there are no games to be televised and all of these sports shows and sports opinion shows are out there trying to talk about sports. Now, we've been preparing for this day all our life. We are the doomsdayers. We're the ones that you guys have been making fun of for more than a decade because we've had this, we built this panic room and this pit where we can talk about it. We can talk about sandwiches for a month. We talked for 3 days about Michael Doliak. Like, it doesn't matter to us.
Rick Springfield's got like 17 more colors that he likes.
I feel like all these vice presidents at ESPN who have been bumping into each other, clucking, more sports. You guys are bleeped. like, what now?
Well, they got us. I mean,
well, that's all they've got, though, in terms of being able to just talk about not sports.
You're going to be so happy to be taking a trip to the Music Dome come 1 week from today.
I want you to go into our library. I just want to do a nostalgia tour. Like, just grab all the stuff.
Now is not the time to be lazy, Dan. Now is when we
stop being lazy.
Next week is the time to be lazy.
It's always a good time to be lazy.
Now we flex our creativity. There's more details from Adrian Wojnarowski in regards to Donovan Mitchell's positive test for corona. League sources told him that Jazz players privately say Rudy Gobert had been careless in the locker room, touching other players and their belongings, sort of displaying the behavior that he did with the microphones. So Rudy Gobert, in many ways, like patient zero for the NBA.
Yeah, he can't feel real good today for a number of different reasons, not the least of which is his name is now associated with what feels like a profound stupidity, even though none of us know actually. He could just be a victim of bad luck. We don't know that touching those microphones and those recorders and making a big show of touching things without fear is the reason that he has the coronavirus, but it sure looks that way.
It does, but he's also not alone in people who just 48 hours ago were minimizing this thing, making fun of it, saying it's nothing. He's not alone there.
There were plenty of people doing that. That's right. And now Chris is scared. I just heard the conversation between Billy and Stugotz during the break where Billy's like, Stugotz, stop worrying so much. Billy, the voice of fearlessness, stop worrying so much if you're otherwise healthy, even if you get diagnosed with this. This is largely something that is happening to older people, older men with respiratory issues, that young people can be diagnosed and have no fear. This did not allay Stugotz in any way. He is continuing to wash his hands at a rate that leaves him skinless.